Hi, Lorena. Welcome to the
Hi,
FoodYoga show. So
thank
we
you for
talk,
inviting me.
yeah. So we talk about the nutrition, how it is important in yogic practice. So before we move further, I just want to introduce Lorena. Lorena is a prenatal yoga teacher. She's also a holistic nutritionist and a wellness expert. Lorena, before we move on to the nutrition part of our discussion, we would like to know from you how your yogic journey started. I mean, what motivated you to take up the journey and how have been your journey on this path so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. We all have a journey, right? So, when I was a teenager, I used to be a runner. I was a sprinter, track and field. And for many years, I did competitions. And all of a sudden, I had a back injury, a herniated disc, and I just couldn't run anymore. And I felt drawn to yoga. So I tried one class, but it was it was life changing because at least since that first experience, I felt like a wellness, a well being that I've never experienced before with exercise. So I got super curious and I kept like exploring yoga in general. It was like about a couple of years that I tried different styles until I found like what I wanted to do, and then I went super deep into the practice and just I went to India, I took teacher trainings, and I just wanted to share the practice, not even knowing that I wanted to focus on prenatal. I was just really, I could see the benefits of the practice in my life. So it felt very natural for me just to go that route and that path, and that's what I wanted to do.
Quite interesting. I mean, I had talked to the people in the past, and most of them were in the sports, and due to some of or any injury, they moved to the yoga, and they found it so really interesting that they made their path onto the yoga, right? So
Yeah.
that's quite inspiring.
Yeah, and then I did have a full-time job, but when I had my first baby, there was a massive layoff and I got cut. So I said, why not just teach yoga and be a mom? And it was a great balance for me to do motherhood with yoga classes, and that's how I really chose it as a profession, even before the nutrition.
Oh,
Yeah.
so there you got a work-life balance as well. So, when we talk about yoga, we talk about the asanas, pranayam, meditation, and the things like that. But a very less touched upon topic is the nutrition. What is your take on the nutrition for the yoga doers?
It's super interesting that I felt, at least as a personal experience, when I first practiced yoga, that I was more inclined to eating healthier just by the practice. So it was a very interesting transition. I mean, I have always been healthy, but I was just more drawn to more veggies and just fresher and more alive foods, like instead of processed foods. So definitely that's one of my to goes, right? Like to go tos is to find whole foods. Even if you're not a vegetarian, you just eat mostly plants, like mostly veggies and fruit to some extent as well. But yeah, just finding that balance between what you really need and what your body's asking you, and really listening. So I think that's where yoga really helps in tuning into your body's needs. I used to be very anxious around food. I used to have a lot of like food anxiety, and it went away with my yoga practice. So I tell people, like, it's not like yoga is going to make you lose weight because you burn a lot of calories, but you're just going to be more at ease and not feel the need to be eating all day just to satisfy something that's missing, right?
Right. So it makes your body, it makes you listen to your body and you act accordingly, right? So you
Exactly.
connect with yourself and do what is needed rather than just going into your demanding nature of the body, right?
Right.
So how do you fulfill your nutrition requirement? What do you, after your yoga practice, what do you take as a post yoga meals?
Yeah, that depends on what time is the practice. Sometimes I like to practice early on an empty stomach, and then after of course, what I really want to do is basically something light, like, usually like a smoothie. If it's summertime, I do go with the seasons, right? So if it's hot, like either a green juice first and then like a balanced meal that has fat, fiber, and protein to balance blood sugar. If it's winter time, then like a warm, like kind of like quinoa bowl or some kind of warmer, more hearty breakfast. And if it's in the evening, I usually, I don't practice much in the evening, but if it's middle of the day, definitely, I don't feel as hungry right after practice. So I wait until I'm hungry. I mostly hydrate more than eating right away. But whenever that happens, then I make sure that it's also a balanced snack. So for instance, if I reach out for a piece of fruit, I eat a handful of nuts. So I get the fat, the fiber, and the protein there, so that there's no sugar spikes. And that's actually how I recommend my clients to do nutrition in general, and women for hormonal balance, pregnancy, same thing. So definitely just looking into the quality of your snack, like some hummus with some carrots, or veggies and some hummus, and not going for the protein bar, right, or for the packaged food. Really looking for the whole food, basically.
So what are the 3 top nutrition requirements that you see during the pregnancy, which you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, pregnancy is a very demanding phase in a woman's life, because you're building a whole body with organs and bones and hair and nails, and definitely you need to increase your nutrition requirements. So a lot of times people don't realize how much protein you need when you're pregnant. So that depends on your pre-pregnancy weight, how much protein you need. But that's one of the main things that I first teach people, like just to figure out how to put all that protein in there, because it's not easy, especially for vegetarians or vegans. It can be done. It's just, you just need to really focus and have that guidance, because otherwise it can be very complicated and easy to go to tip the scale more towards the excess carbs and excess stuff that are going to keep you full but not necessarily nourished.
Nice.
So you need to focus on healthy fats, a lot of good healthy fats, good healthy carbs, and a lot of good protein, good source of protein. And that's always like a little bit more. It's not just eating for 2, like people say, just eat for 2.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than that. That's the ideal. Of course, people go through pregnancy and not necessarily focus on this stuff. And I feel like the body is very wise, and that's where you get the cravings. And sometimes you're craving oranges and bananas and you don't know why. So, people have funny cravings, and I think the body's speaking to you, right?
Right.
So I always encourage people to listen to those. And even if they say, like, I'm just craving ice cream all day, I say, well, maybe that's because you need fats. So more healthy fats. Instead of eating a gallon of ice cream, just make yourself some guacamole, some nuts, get some good healthy fats in there, so that you are nourished, and also, you're not hungry all the time.
So one interesting question which I just arose into my mind when you spoke about the ice cream. If you're craving ice cream, so you just thought it's fat. It might be the sweet also the body may be asking. So how do you advise to our listeners to have instead of simple sugar, what can they have to satisfy their sweetness hunger?
Yeah, definitely. Refined sugar is just like it's not a good thing for anybody, even if you're pregnant. It's just, it's very depletes your body of minerals, and it just creates inflammation. And it's something that I advise my clients to avoid, and I avoided myself as well. But there's other sources of sweeteners that are healthy. For instance, like raw honey has minerals, right? And some vegans won't eat honey, but even real natural maple syrup. Molasses has minerals in it. Dates, some people use dates as sweeteners. And because even brown sugar, it's still refined sugar with a little bit of molasses, but it's not really that. The process of obtaining the sugar is really not ideal for the body. So of course, staying away from corn syrup, even artificial sweeteners like aspartame and all those I don't want to say brands, but those are really bad for you. But if you want a 0 calorie sweetener that's safe, I do recommend stevia if it comes from a natural source, and monk fruit if it's only monk fruit, right? So there are a few that you could do safely, and that even okay during pregnancy, that I wouldn't do for pregnant mamas. But yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Okay, that's wonderful. We at here Sattviko have exciting range of post-yoga meals, which is makhana, if you must have heard, the water lily pops. So that's 100% plant-based, and we prepare them adding 13 yogic herbs.
Mm-hmm.
And there is also endurance and strengthening meal, which is ready to eat, and which is a very good source of good fats and carbs. Okay, so maybe you can have try them, any of them, sometime.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one. Of course, yeah. If people haven't had dinner after practice, you want to eat your good protein based, or enough protein, like mixing the different sources of vegetable protein to create a full amino acid, right? A complete protein. That's important as well in pregnancy. So yeah, there's different combinations out there, but
right,
that works for people.
So before we come to the end of our talk show, we would like to have a one tip or recommendation from you to our listeners and viewers, which you would like to give us.
Sure. I mean, specifically in the way I work with pregnancy, one of the main issues, and it's an epidemic, it's gestational diabetes. So one of the things that is sad that people don't really, I mean, moms are not, they don't realize they have it until very late in pregnancy when they're tested, when I think that it can be completely prevented if since the beginning, people are taught how to balance their blood sugar. So a simple tip to do that is to really include in every meal, in every snack, fat, fiber, and protein, so that the velocity in which glucose is absorbed in the body is slowed down. Mm-hmm. So that's like my number one tip for nutrition in general. Of course, the good sources of everything, but that combination makes a difference. It's not the same to just eat a bowl of rice. If you eat a bowl of rice with lentils, it's going to make it, less of a glycemic spike. If you add avocado to that bowl of rice and lentils, even better. And if you add salad before the bowl of rice, even better. So there are ways of getting creative with how you're combining foods so that you avoid those sugar and glucose spikes in the body that are just not healthy for anybody, whether you're pregnant or not.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lovely advice, I would say. So, once we release this interview, we are going to have more questions. As you rightly mentioned, during pregnancy, you should be having the balanced good carbs and good fats and the proteins. So maybe we can have more questions from our followers. So we would like to invite you later on our talk show, for a small talk show where you can, share your insight more about the foods and nutrition and the yoga, especially on the prenatal yoga.
Sure. Yeah, I do have a program that is called the Complete Pregnancy Solution, where I include nutrition by trimester, prenatal yoga sequences, mindfulness exercises. It has everything a pregnant mom could need to deal with symptoms, to go with the specific nutrients each trimester, and understanding how much protein to get and how, recipes, and it has everything mom could need. So yeah, we'll be happy to share about that as well. Because it's really, as you say, mixing yoga and nutrition together can give the person like a more complete wellness plan and lifestyle that it's way more better than just focusing on one or the other, right?
so very well said that combining the yoga with nutrition or alone nutrition without doing any physical exercise would not be, if they go along, so then you can have a better lifestyle and the health. So
yeah.
So that's it from our side, Lorena. It was a wonderful talking to you. So
thank you.
So we would be having more such talks with the yogis, wonderful yogis around the world. So you can ask your questions and you can either write us, GM us, or mail us. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.